Hello and welcome to the Monroe Method Clancast. I am Jason Monroe and this is episode 53. It is, isn't it? Yeah, it is. So, you think you're desperate to lose weight. That is the title of this one. I posted about this on Instagram a few weeks ago. No, I can't remember what I said. I should have looked before I started. Let me see if it jumps out at me. I think it might have been a quote. Desperate to lose weight. There we go. If you were true... no, because that gives the whole game away. Let's read it out in a bit. I work with people who tell me they're desperate to lose weight. In fact, before I even work with them, I get lots of DMs from people. And it'll be like a cry for help. I really need your help. I'm so desperate to lose weight. And then they'll say something like, oh God, I'm so desperate to lose weight. I've even tried Herbalife. I've even tried the Cambridge weight plan. I've even tried diet pills. I've even tried whatever. And that person sees that as an act of desperation. But the reality is, that's not someone who's desperate to lose weight, right? If you were desperate to lose weight, you'd be willing to do whatever it takes, right? If you were genuinely desperate to do something, to achieve something, then you would do whatever it takes to achieve that thing. When people look for shortcuts and fad diets and crash diets and quick ways to lose weight, yes, you might well be desperate to lose weight. However, you're also desperate for it to be easy. Desperate for it just to cost money. Desperate for it not to take much effort. Desperate for it just to come down to drinking 3 shakes a day as if that's going to solve all your problems. So, yeah, not to take anything away from it, you may genuinely want to lose weight. However, you also want it to not take much effort. You want it to require very little thought. People who are genuinely desperate to lose weight, they come to work with me. And the reason I wanted to talk about this in a podcast episode is that I recently implemented, I say recently, I did it in June. I implemented a no return policy, which I don't think I've spoken about on here yet. So it used to be that people could dip in and out of the Monroe Method as often as they wanted. It's not for any reason other than I didn't think about it. You know, I didn't think... It was actually my business coach that told me to do this, that I'll tell you about it in a second. But I've just had this policy where people... It's not even a fucking policy. I've not had anything. People could just come and go because that's just the way it is, right? It wasn't intentional. And it's just the way it was, right? People can sign up. People can cancel. I did not ever think there was any reason to ever regulate that. But I was talking to my business coach one day and I was like, do you know what really annoys me? It's like, it annoys me when people leave for a couple of months and then come back again. Because they'll join for a couple of months, we'll just be getting to the good stuff, we'll just be getting to the meaningful work, and then they'll leave because they've got a 2-week holiday or something and they don't want to waste 2 weeks of a membership, so they go away for 2 weeks and then they come back with the intention of signing back up again, but they don't, and they wait 2 months, and then when they do come back, they're heavier than they were the first time they joined, and we've got all that to go through again. And we said, well, why don't you put in a no-return policy? Why don't you tell them that they're not allowed to come back? So that's what I've ended up having to do. Because I am trying to improve the compatibility of the clients that I attract. And that's something me and my business coach have been working on. Changing my marketing, changing the things I do online, changing the things I have on like my sales page and my website to make sure that when people are reading that, they're running through a mental checklist and asking themselves, am I the person that this guy is talking to? Is this guy going to be able to help me? Am I the right client to go into this program? Because I've been very lucky, and I said this to my business coach, like, I generally attract my ideal clients. Like, for the most part, I've never considering how many thousands of people I've worked with over the last 6 years and how many people have passed through the doors of our group, I can on one hand count the amount of people that I've had to forcibly remove from the group, as in I've had to go in and physically remove them and refund their money because they were horrible people or disruptive or being unkind to other people or being abusive towards me, whatever. Which, if you've ever been in any other Facebook groups, you'll know that that's something to be proud of, right? Nothing to do with like the way the groups run or anything. Like, ultimately, a group will go depending on the type of people that you put in there. So my online stuff, like the way I come across online, the type of people that I attract, the people that they follow me for a while, they read my emails, whatever, then they eventually go on to become clients. They do so because they either like something I've said, they like my approach, they think that I'm going to be the person to help them, and then they come to work with me. So I talk about all this stuff deliberately to put off the people who want to crash diet from coming and trying to work with me. Because you can't do what I do and make it work as a crash diet, because it doesn't work. That's not how it's set up. That's not how it's designed. So, yeah, back to this no return policy thing. I've put this in place as like a next step in the evolution of, again, not having people come in and try and treat what we do as a crash diet. You know, you can't just come in for a couple of months, give it a try and say, oh, this isn't really working. I'll just take a break for a few months and then I'll come back again. So I've put in this, I call it the cancellation no return policy, which basically means that you are absolutely free to cancel. You always have been. Like, I don't force people to stay. I don't even have a conversation with people when they cancel. I'm not Sky or Virgin Media or BT. You don't call someone and then have them beg you to stay and offer you a better deal. Like, I don't do that thing. I don't do anything like that. It's basically a link. You go in, you press it, you cancel it. That's it. We don't need to interact. You can leave some feedback and let me know why you're cancelling, and I'll take that on board in the future and make some adjustments, perhaps, if it's something helpful or constructive. But people are free to leave if they want. I don't make it awkward. However, I've now put in this thing where you're not allowed to come back for 6 months. And that's for your benefit. Because number one of the most popular days for people cancelling their memberships is a Monday. Because here's how it goes, right? You've had a drink on a Friday night, you were hungover, or you've had a drink on a Friday, a drink on a Saturday, a takeaway on a Saturday, you were hungover all day on Sunday, you had another takeaway, and it's Monday. You've not been to the supermarket, you've done no prep work, you're feeling like absolute dog shit, you've slept through your alarm for work, you don't have anything ready for work, and then you've stepped on the scales. And your weight is 10 pounds heavier than it was on Friday, and you go, fuck this isn't working. You jump on and go, I am cancelling this because this is fucking bullshit. And I know it happens. I've had conversations with people, and it's happened a few times where they've cancelled on a Monday, then came back on a Wednesday and been like, do you know what, I didn't mean to do that. This is the headspace I was in. You know, and it's not me. It's a very short-sighted thing to do. It's a person reacting to how they're feeling in the moment and thinking, oh, this is pointless, it's not working, I'm never going to lose any weight, and then channeling that elsewhere, blaming someone else or something else rather than taking responsibility for their weekend actions. So Monday's one of the most popular days for cancelling, and first thing in the morning, right after someone stepped on the scales because they think something's not right. So this policy that's in place, when someone goes to the cancellation page, it shows them that, you can absolutely cancel, no problem at all, but just know that if you do, you can't come back for 6 months. So I just want you to make sure that you're making the absolute, you're not making a 6 months decision based on an in-the-moment thing, something that you're feeling just now. And if they're still sure that that's a choice they want to make, then they cancel, and that's fine, and off they go for 6 months. And then that means that they can't then come back 2 weeks later and say, oh, do you know what, that was just me, let's go give it another go. Or now that I've got, July's a month of lots of birthdays in the house, now that I've got all this overeating and drinking to excess out my system, I can go and give it a try again. That's not the type of person that I'm trying to help. And that's why this 6 month policy thing stops them from coming back so soon. Do you see what I mean? So it's in place, number one, to help the person, first of all, because if someone comes in and tries to treat what we do as something they can do on plan, off plan, dip in for a couple of months, it won't work. So I'm protecting them from failure, basically, by trying to use the Monroe method in a way that it isn't intended, and it won't work. And number two, it helps me because I get a higher level of compatible clients through the door, which means I'm working with people that I'm best suited to help. So when people send me messages and they're like, I'm so desperate that I've tried Cambridge Weight Plan, I'm so desperate that I've tried Herbalife, I'm so desperate that I've tried weight loss injections or whatever else, pills, whatever. It's like, well, yeah, I'm probably not going to be able to help you because, you're desperate for it to be easy. You want the quick, fast, crash diet, 6 pounds a week weight loss. I'm not going to be able to help you with that. So if that's your if your ladder of desperation is going down the route of trying to get the fastest results in the shortest time possible, then I'm not the next evolution from that. That I would be the complete opposite of that, because everything that I do is designed to help you for life, not just help you get the scales down over the next 3 to 6 months so you can go back to normal and start regaining that weight again. The time that you spend with me is an investment, not just in the short term, but in your entire life. So if you are someone who's desperate to lose weight, if you're listening to this podcast episode because the word desperate leapt out at you, I will be able to help you. But the thing that you are going to have to be desperate for, you're going to have to be desperate to stop yo-yo dieting, to stop chasing the scales up and down, to desperate to not have dieting be a part of your life for the rest of your life. Remember, I'm lucky at my end because I get to see it from all different ends of the spectrum. You are you. You only know what you're going through. You only know what you've been through, and you don't know what you've yet to go through, right? So whatever age you are right now listening to this, you still have many years ahead of you. And what you do now will determine whether those years are going to be filled with dieting or not, if they're going to be filled with chasing the scales up and down or not, if you're going to be spending the next 10. The way I like to look at it, so think about the age you are right now and the age you were when you started your first ever diet. So no, that doesn't work on me because I'm not a good example of that. Let's say you are 30 years old and you went on your first diet at the age of 18. So the last 12 years you have been sitting in Slimming World meetings, Weight Watchers meetings, Scottish Slimmers meetings, you've done Slim Fast, Herbalife, Juice Plus, and whatever else in between. And here you are, still with weight to lose, still unhappy with your weight, still looking for that next thing, still listening to podcasts about weight loss 12 years later. 12 years of time, energy, money that you've spent on something that hasn't changed, your weight. Maybe it has, maybe it has. Maybe you're lighter than you were 12 years ago. Maybe you're heavier. Maybe you're the same weight as you were 12 years ago. Ultimately, you're not any farther forward because here you are still trying to do something about your weight. Now, I want you to take those 12 years and project them into the future. Do you want to be doing what you've done for the last 12 years for the next 12 years? Obviously not. Nobody's going to say yes, right? Who wants to yo-yo diet? So what are you going to do about it? What are you going to, if something about your approach to your weight does not change, then you are going to keep getting the same as you've always got. If you go through the next 12 years the same way as you went through the last 12 years, you will be sitting here in 12 years' time listening to somebody else's podcast telling you the same shit. You'll be 42, 24 years of your dieting career will be behind you, and they'll be asking you, if you've been dieting for the last 24 years, what are the next 24 years going to look like? So if you're level of desperation around your weight is about, it's not about getting the scales down in the shortest time possible. If you're desperate to stop dieting, if you're desperate to lose weight for life, if you're desperate to finally learn what it takes to not be fucking around with your weight anymore, you are the person that I am best. Oh, no, that's not right. You are the person that I'm best suited to help. You best, no, because then that's me saying that I'm the best person for it, and that's not true. You are the type of person that I set up the Monroe Method to help. That's a better way of saying it. You know what I meant. I wasn't trying to imply it was the best. That's ridiculous. But yeah, you are the type of person that I created. You're the most compatible person, and that's what it's all about. You know, I will get better results for people who I have set up the Monroe Method for. I will not get good results for people who want to lose the most amount of weight in the shortest amount of time. That does not compute. That completely goes against the grain of my ethos and everything that I am about and everything that the Monroe Method is about. We are not some weight loss quick stop shop. You cannot do. The Monroe Method is all about helping someone lose weight for life. You cannot help someone lose weight for life when their attention is on getting the scales down as quickly as possible, because they completely lose sight of doing the things that will help them maintain that. You know, if someone comes to work with me and they get carried away with the calorie counting part and they don't focus on anything else, and it's just about trying to eat as low calories as possible, yes, the scales will come down very quickly, but then what? What have you learned along the way? What have you changed? You've done nothing. You've taken what you've done with every diet in the past, every weight loss attempt in the past, and you've brought that same mindset and tried to force it to work with an approach that it won't work with, and you'll achieve the same outcome. You will lose weight, yes, but you will not develop the things you need to develop to make that a lifelong change. So, I was going to say, how desperate are you? That's not really the question. What are you desperate for? Are you really, are you desperate to lose weight here and now? Do you want the scales to be at your goal weight yesterday? Or are you desperate to stop dieting? Are you desperate to get away from yo-yo dieting forever? Are you desperate to make sure that the next 12 years don't look the same as the last 12 years? That was what I didn't finish talking about, actually. I've worked with people from both ends of the spectrum. I have had men and women at the age of 19, 20, 21 come and work with me, and some of them have done phenomenally well, and I helped set them up for life. Like, that makes me feel good, knowing that I took someone at the age of 21, before Slimming World could get their claws into them, before Weight Watchers could get their claws into them, before their mate who started selling Herbalife could start selling them shakes. I've grabbed that person I've not grabbed them, they've came to me, or I've grabbed their attention, I should say. I've grabbed their attention at a very early age, early enough to help them avoid decades of yo-yo dieting. And at the opposite end of the scale, I had someone recently at, I think she was 68, who did a lovely testimonial. She left the group wishing that she had found me 50 years ago. Fucking imagine that. I wish I had found you 50 years ago. What could you have done with the time, energy, and money spent on 50 years of dieting? And it makes me sad in a way. I'm not a glass half empty guy. I very much focus on the other side, but it still makes me sad to know that someone wasted 50 years of their life chasing the scales up and down, only to be no further forward 50 years later. I mean, at 68 years old, she still has years ahead of her, and those years are not going to be filled with yo-yo dieting, and thank goodness for that, because can you imagine a whole lifetime spent yo-yo dieting? But yeah, what kind of future do you want to have? Do you want to be dieting for your whole life? Is getting the scales down in the shortest time possible really the most important thing? Or would you not rather learn how to stop dieting, have the scales come down, however they're going to come down at their own pace, in their own time, but still get to your goal weight at some point? But once you reach that goal weight, you know how to stay there. If that is you, then you are the right person to come and work with me inside the Monroe Method. But if you feel you have another 5 or 10 years of yo-yo dieting left in you, and I've had this before. I mean, I've had people come and work with me. This was before I did the no return thing. But over the years, I've had people come, do great, but they were always complaining about how slowly they thought they were losing, because at Slimming World, I was losing 3 and 4 pounds a week. It's like, no, you weren't. You lost 3 pounds once, but that was after you had a gain and a maintain. People don't get this. Like, when you take that gain and that maintain, so if someone gains a pound, maintains, and then loses 3 pounds, what's happened? They have lost 3 pounds over 3 weeks, 1 pound per week. But Slimming World love you to believe that you can lose 3 pounds in a week, 4 pounds in a week, more than that. You can't. Not every single week. The vast majority of people do not have the capacity to lose that amount of weight in a single week. What I mean by that is, to lose 3 pounds in a week, you would have to eat 1,500 calories less than you burn every single day, meaning someone burning 2,000 calories a day would have to find a way of surviving on 500 calories a day every single day, and that's not happening. When you lose 3 and 4 pounds, it's an accumulation of a few weeks of effort. It's a way that they use the scales once a week. You're just stepping on it and getting a snapshot. So if you have a pound gain and a maintain, then followed by a 3 pound loss, you did not lose that 3 pounds in the third week. You lost a pound every week, you just didn't get to see it the first 2 times. That's all. But like I say, I've had people who felt that a pound a week wasn't quick enough because they still held this belief that they could lose more or faster at Slimming World, completely overlooking the fact that, Slimming World has never worked for them the other 20 times that they've been there. And like I say, they desperately cling to this idea they can lose 3 and 4 more pounds in a week, and they've stopped working with me after making great consistent progress, and they'll disappear for a few months, and then they'll come back again, having regained all the weight they lost with me, and they'll say, I just had to go give Slimming World one last try just to prove to myself it didn't work. So you might have another few years of yo-yo dieting left in you. You might be someone that is going to cling to that hope, and I can't do anything about that. That's entirely up to the person to choose. It makes me sad to know that people will go and waste years and hundreds, sometimes thousands of pounds, and that's what it takes to get their mind to the place where they finally realise that this isn't working. That's why most of my content online, I talk about Slimming World and all these other things, saying, look, if you've been going to Slimming... A woman commented on my... I posted about daily weighing versus weekly weighing. I didn't reply to her, but in my head I did. I posted about an old graphic, scale weight, daily versus weekly weighing. I'll read it out because I've just opened it up. And she said, where are we? Yeah. I have done this for 4 years now. Weekly weighing is pure pot luck and not accurate. Now, the first thing that goes through my head there is, why have you been weighing yourself every single day for 4 years? If that's related to weight loss, like, she's made that comment as if it's perfectly normal. Yep, I've been weighing myself every single day for 4 years. Like, in my head, the first thing I think is, well, why have you been dieting for 4 years, and why do you not see that as abnormal? Now, I'm only taking that from that comment, and she doesn't have a weight loss Instagram. You can't see her account without following her back, which I'm not going to do. But, if she has been on a diet for 4 years, why is that person not stopping to question why they're still stepping on a scale every single day for 4 years? Like, if you've been doing it for 4 years, What is the thing that's going to have to change so that you're not doing that for the next 4 years? And I will leave you all with that question. Like, however many years you have been dieting for up until this point, what is it that's going to have to change? What's going to have to happen for you to make sure the next however many years don't look the same as the last? Nothing changes if nothing changes. If you keep going back to the same things you've tried before, you will keep getting the same result that you've always got. If you've been to Slimming World 10 times over the last 10 years and you are no further forward with your weight, the next 10 years isn't going to change. Nothing. You're not going to reach, you're not going to, the 11th time isn't going to get you a different result. The 15th time isn't. The 20th time isn't. Like, nothing's going to click. Nothing's going to change. The only thing that needs to change is that you need to realize that your weight is not the problem. You are. It's you that needs to change. Your weight is the outcome of everything that you eat, drink, think, and do on a daily basis. And it's your approach to your lifestyle that needs to change, because that's what dictates your weight. Anyway, that was a massive brain dump. But yeah, if you are desperate to stop dieting, then you are the person that I want to work with, and the person that I am... No, I did say that right, Ella, that I am best suited to help. Because it doesn't mean that I'm the best person for the job. It means that you are the person that I've set up the Monroe Method for. See, I did say that right earlier. Anyway, until next time.